Okay, good afternoon, class. I would want to thank you very much for being patient and for logging on. We have 13 students. We've given ourselves 40 minutes to be able to wait for the others, and we are keen to go ahead. So allow me to please go ahead. Meanwhile, for registration, please enter your names, your reg number, email address, student number in the chat room so that I can save them later. Thank you. Today's class, first of all, a quick introduction to the chapter, to not just the chapter only, but the course unit. And thank you very much for choosing the security section. We will have a number of online sessions. So these will be able to help us to be hands-on with digital forensics and investigation. Just like how we covered system analysis and design and any other life cycles, digital forensic investigation equally follows a particular framework or a methodology that has equal steps that we follow. So by end of this class, we will be able to cover it as well. So as a forensic expert, when you're invited to go to a particular scene or a particular crime scene where there was maybe theft or death, as long as anything involves any hardware, anything digital, software, hardware, that is where we add value. And that is where we come in to pick this evidence. Our most important focus is in seeing that we collect evidence that we can attach to a particular case that was brought to police or put before the courts of law, submit the evidence to see that the truth is realized and justice is finally released. So that is, in summary, what digital forensic investigation involves. We have quite a lot we will be able to cover, but we will be able to see how we can have this in 10 weeks. I encourage you and the rest of the students not to miss any one of our classes and also the hands-on sessions. I will be having 2 sets of classes. One will be running on Wednesday at 3 to 5 p.m. Another one on Friday at 2 to 4. So feel free and attend as many of the sessions as you can. You're not limited to any of them. And of course, when face-to-face classes begin, we will equally proceed, but we want to do our best with online classes, especially where we have theories and even some quick practicals. We have some practicals that we want to start next week. So I encourage each of us, there is a slide in the notes where you'll see the tutorial slide. We have a number of tools. They are open source tools that we shall step by step download and see how can we use them during a digital forensic investigation or during that process. Okay, so in chapter 1, we want to start by understanding the digital forensics profession and investigation. Dr. Nabella still my names, and I'm very excited to take you on along this journey. 11 key areas we will be able to look at as stipulated in the course outline. By the way, class, I will encourage you, please go online and register, go on Muwele. I've even already uploaded one of our tests there. We shall have an online test. We shall also have a physical test as well. So for the online, please, and even the notes, the video recordings, not the video recordings only, but the Zoom recordings, I will keep uploading. There's a Word document that I will keep uploading with these links. I'll also use social media, specifically your WhatsApp group as students, to share this information as much as possible. Okay, so for today's class, it's an introductory one in nature. We want to define what we look at as digital forensics. We will look at how do we prepare ourselves to carry out a computer investigation or a cyber security investigation. A flash disk is stolen or a flash disk is retrieved and information was deleted. How do we do the recovery? Because it contains information that was very, very important concerning a particular case. We'll see how we can summarize the difference between public sector and private sector investigations. Here, the public sector looks at government-related investigations, while the private sector involves any other players outside of government, any other entities that mainly deal with organizations or companies. And here we shall see that private sector investigations mainly focus on the breaching of company policies and laws. We will explain the importance of having and maintaining a good professional conduct. We talk about integrity, we talk about the truth, we talk about no corruption, we talk about availability and confidentiality, as we shall later see even in chapter 2. However, as a professional, there are core items we will look at. We want to further go on and describe how do we prepare for a digital forensic investigation. What is that step-by-step process? You will see you have an assignment that I've already put there for you that will be due on this coming Friday. By the time our class begins, you should have all submitted your assignments, please, to my email so that we are able to have it. And what is it all about? It's about our existing frameworks, the existing methodologies of digital forensic investigations. I want them according to groups, because your group should not have more than 5 people, maybe in few exceptions up to 6, such that at least every person contributes a minimum of 2 methodologies, because the question requests for 10 of the methodologies that currently exist. I expect diagrams, I expect explanations, I expect, yes, others are in tables. I expect a thorough, the way you would write and you critique a methodology. So that is what we will see as our assignment. We will be able to describe the approaches for private sector digital investigation. And this one we have seen, we've just mentioned it, that, you know, how do we handle private sector investigations, looking at several cases. And of course, we may not cover all, but at least you'll have some of the components for you to handle and read even further. The textbook should be availed. Actually, I need to quickly, okay, I hear it's asking, yes, the enrollment key is capital IST 3105, please. When you go to Muwele, that is our enrollment key, IST 3105. There is no space in between, and those are capital letters. Basically, our course code is what we have as our enrollment key. Thank you, Joram, for inquiring. Okay, let me just quickly attach for us, just here as we are, I would want to attach some of the key core books that we'll be looking at, as well as these notes as well. Let me attach them here in within the chat room. All right. So we will then wind up by looking at the importance and requirements for data recovery. Such a workstation, what would such a workstation contain, and the software that we use? We will also summarize the process of conducting a forensic investigation and also critiquing that case. In this particular class, we will look at slides, the screenshots, using a particular tool, a digital forensic investigation tool. And that digital forensic investigation tool is what we call ProDiscover. It's a paid-for tool, which is expensive. However, we will ensure that we use those that are open source. And that's why you see in all the tutorials we will have, if I'm to quickly take us there, let me first end through and quickly flip to where we have our tutorials. Yes, here we go, slide 72. These are the sets of tutorials we will have. We'll have about 13 tutorials, and each of them have their different tools. We'll download about 10 tools to help us to follow up on each one of, they are unique for particular items, for registry analysis, for creating images. The whole forensic tool, OS Forensics, is open source. We shall use the free version that gives us 30 days. When it ends, we shall see what to do, because the 30 days will end before we actually begin. However, it is very comprehensive. That tool is quite comprehensive, but with a free version, it only gives you a small jaribu, a sample. It is basically to allow us to sample what the tool is capable of doing. Okay, and many others. We will go on, but we need to first look at some bit of theory for us to clearly appreciate what we are planning to cover. Okay, so I'm very keen in proceeding on to our definitions. When we are looking at digital forensics, we look at digital forensics as the application. Mark my words, it is clearly an application. And what are we doing with that application? We are using different computer tools to help us carry out the forensic investigation. So it's the application of both computer science, investigative procedures for a legal purpose, and it involves, of course, the analysis of digital evidence. After proper search authority, we will be able to see that for any digital crime that occurs, we must have and seek permission from the magistrate. We don't just go there and say, they have called us to work, we must work. There is a code of conduct, there are procedures. So one of the initial ones is that a victim should put a statement to police, then police will start the process, take it to the magistrate, and it's from that level that they move on to do the forensic investigation. So you follow that search authority. Then it has a chain of custody. These are some key core words we shall look at even by end of this class. A chain of custody is the hierarchy, the steps you follow. And by the way, not every forensic case is acceptable. No, not every forensic case is acceptable. It's only those few cases that actually have followed the procedure. It's only those few that have proper evidence, those few that are well documented, those that have actually been authorized by the courts of law, represented by the magistrates, for you to carry them out. Those are the ones that are accepted. And it's not everyone. It's only qualified people with a bachelor's degree, and thereafter you do security certifications. It involves validation with mathematics. This is usually at the back end, and we shall look at a lot of validation using validation tools. And in validation, we test for integrity. We test for integrity, meaning that the system should not change. The answers should not change. It should not appear today, it's a different answer. Tomorrow, when we run it through the system, something else is different. And that is why these last key components are here for repeatability. A third party should also be able to run it. And by the way, when the courts of law will ask their person, tell us the software, we install it, give us this and the other, the process should be repeatable. And when it's repeatable, the process should give us the same reports, the same outputs, the same like the ones you are presenting in the courts of law. So the reporting process is very key, and there are possible expert presentations. And that's why we work as a team. We work as a team because as individuals, we are very helpless. We are very helpless in getting as much information as we would want in presenting. Something that is legal, we need also the legal team to work with us as well. So digital forensics has existed since the 1970s, ever since cyber crimes became very tough. But more so in 2012, there was a milestone that the ISO, that's the International Standard Organization, set up a particular law that allowed us that, yes, security and information security is one of those critical, very important roles in managing any particular case. So in October 2012, they approved the ISO 27037. That is one of the standards that brought into place and allowed and legalized the whole process for digital forensic investigation. Okay, what gives us the mandate to be able to search? What gives us the mandate is because of this Fourth Amendment. This Fourth Amendment is what gives us the energy that when you've followed the process, you're given a guarantee you're given a warranty to go to assess a particular house or maybe search a particular office. It's the Fourth Amendment in the US Constitution in the 17th century that allowed, that protects everyone's right to be searched and also for seizing some items. And that's why you see in movies, I would want to mention the ones in movies. When they want to arrest some people, they'll always present their ID, introduce themselves. I don't know, Major so-and-so or Corporal so-and-so. This is my number. I've been sent from the CID something or FBI. We are here to do this. Introduce yourself and immediately you handcuff the person. It's the Fourth Amendment law that allows us to do that. A separate search warranty may be necessary. That's the one I told you, the one we get from the magistrate. And I will take you through the process that we follow as a country. Not in this lecture, but in another lecture, but even more so by the guest lecturers that we shall get from NITA. We shall agree on a particular time when they can log in online, and we have this joint guest lecture for both streams. So a separate warranty may be very necessary for digital evidence. So every US jurisdiction has cases or case laws related to the admissibility. We'll look at some of these words. Admissibility of evidence is the acceptability of evidence. What is the procedure? What is the accepted way of allowing recovery or of digital searching? So it's because of such laws. In Uganda, what gave us the mandate to, or what set the precedence as the first case was the one in 2015, 2016, where they were having member of parliament elections. And there was some theft that involved digital evidence. of a member of parliament, the woman member of parliament of Amoria. That's Honorable Akelo Lucy. She was reporting and taking on one of the legislators, one of the opponents who had actually either used some digital way of robbing their points. So once they provided all the evidence in a proper way and in the rightful procedure, I'm telling you, the judge was able to dissolve that case and they won. They canceled the results, they went back, voted, and I'm telling you, Akelo Lucy was able to be successful. What am I saying? That it set for us a precedence. As a country, it set for us a precedence that digital forensics is acceptable. It's very acceptable for us to submit evidence that is in hardware or in software format about a particular case. So this slide here shows us or gives us a list of several laws, the IT laws that support the digital forensic investigation field. These include the NITA Act, the Computer Misuse Act, and these even help us define. Look at number 2. It helps us to clearly define what is a cybercrime, what are challenges that we classify as cybercrimes, then all the other laws and policies, including the final one here, the Data Protection and Data Privacy Act of 2019. The years show the time when the president accepted or assented them into law. So there are several laws that we work with as a country that give us that kind of IT legislation in getting us the actual truth or guiding us in within digital forensics. Okay, digital forensics works hand in hand with other related disciplines. We can't be a standalone. Remember, just as investigators, we only collect data securely, we examine it, we present it, and then we preserve it. And of course, we apply the laws of the land. We apply the laws that, and of course, we've seen a number of these laws and the years in which they were scented. These are extremely very important in ensuring that our policies work as a country. So we apply the laws to any digital device practices to ensure that uniformity is there and to ensure that the truth works hand in hand with the law. Okay, so digital forensics is different from data recovery. Actually, data recovery is only a small subsection. Data recovery is only a small subsection of digital forensics. In data recovery, it involves retrieving information. In case there is information that has ever been deleted. A moment, please. Okay, so data recovery, you are saying, is part of the digital forensics process. In recovering where we have any deleted information, in case we have a flash drive, and we shall use them, I will encourage you, please, even in our subsequent class, please, we are going to come with our flash drives and we shall be recovering any information that has been digitally saved on that device. Using forensic tools, we are able to retrieve everything ever since the flash disk or the hard disk, any storage device, ever since it was manufactured. all the information is regurgitated, and all the information will be availed to each one of the members. And of course, the information that is there includes whether it was information that was still being saved in the process when power got lost. All those incomplete files will be there. Files eaten by viruses will be retrieved as well. Okay. So this slide shows us the three key core fields that make digital forensics work. And you're covering these. You're looking at vulnerabilities and threats assessments. That's in risk management. You'll also be able to look at network intrusion detection and incident response. It's one of your courses this semester. My own is to look at this lower arm here. The digital investigation is what we shall be focusing on. This one will be handled by someone else and this one another person. But you see, the whole triangle of the key core disciplines work hand in hand with each other. Vulnerabilities, threat assessment, and risk management. What will you be covering here? In here, you'll be testing and verifying the integrity of standalone. Just edit it. It's standalone workstations. That is what it focuses on. And network servers. So if you have network security, that's what will equally be covered to look at such cyber vulnerabilities. Network intrusion detection. Here you'll be looking at what are the ways you can use to detect these intruders. Are you using hotspots? What are you using to retrieve and to detect that an attack actually occurred? We will also be able to cover some quick tools on that as well. In network intrusion, we'll see that we carry out detection and incident response, and you have a whole unit on that, basically trying to see how do we use the firewall to keep track of who comes in, who goes out, who sniffs, and who does. So there are several tools, honeypots, I don't know. You'll be looking at several of them, including firewall logs, because you need to analyze them very well to keep track of who did what and at what time. Digital investigation is the one we are handling, which manages the investigation process. And then how do we conduct this forensic analysis? Basically, we are looking at how do we manage to look at the tracking and the postmortem when an intrusion has occurred. It happened, disaster occurred, and we lost some information. So how can we retrieve it? How can we go to the courts of law to be able to get this position known very, very well? And of course, as well, we've seen that the truth must come out. We shall see by end of this lecture, why do we carry out digital forensics and why it's very important. It's around getting us this evidence and showing us that, yes, it is actually very valuable in each one of our cases. Okay. A brief history about forensics. Yes, it began way back in 70s. However, in the 90s, it really became very, very, very serious. Why? Because of the coming up of internet. And so there are several international associations. There are several international associations just like this one, the International Association of Computer Investigation Specialists, of computer investigative specialists. So there are several programs that teach us and show us exactly how do we follow up our warranty, our steps of warranty. We look at the IRS that gave us these such warranty programs. There is also the ASR as well that gives us those details on handling. How do we handle expert witnesses for either Macintosh or even any other sets of computers that have evidence on it? In the history, we basically want to focus on how far it had come, what does it allow us to do, and what are some of the steps or laws that guided us. We looked at the Fourth Amendment, which gives us the search warranty policy or the legality of it. ILUCS is currently maintained by our IRS Criminal Investigation Division. These are big databases that are to help in this kind of forensic investigation. We also have some tools like the Access Forensic Toolkit. It's one of the most popular forensic toolkits. They also have a free version and a paid-for version. When we get back to class, we will be able to get time to go to the labs. And they already have this Access Forensic Toolkit installed. Please take note of its password. Its password is forensic. Sorry, in small letters. So anytime we get time and we go there in the 5 weeks, we'll be able to use it. But before the 5 weeks, we should be able to do something. So that's how far we've gone. We've mentioned understanding the case laws. Existing laws can't keep up with the rate of technology changes. That's true. It takes a long time for a law to be approved. It takes a long time even for a regulation to come into place, for an amendment. It's a process and it equally needs time. So when statutes don't exist, you will find that case laws are used as precedences. Uganda's case, we don't have a particular law that is called a digital forensic investigation law. No country even has it. However, following steps and procedures that other countries have used, even Uganda setting a precedence, has allowed now digital forensics or any legal or IT related evidence to now be brought to the courts of law and legally presented to be part of evidence. Examiners must be familiar with the recent courts of law's rulings, that every time we follow up on what are the current courts of law and what do they exactly do within our environment, especially when it comes to legal cases. These are 3 places we can add to supplement our knowledge from. Knowledge in digital forensics. People can choose to develop and maintain contacts with any computing networks. You can choose to subscribe to any of the associations or professional bodies like IEEE, ACM, even those like ISACA, those that are very specific for computer security information. We will be able to guide you along your career path on what would you need to do next to get into this profession. We'll also be able to see the other way of adding more knowledge in digital forensics to ourselves is by joining computer user groups. There are some that can be, they are public, they are online. We have some online tools that can keep us up to date, even when you subscribe to some magazines. Following up some of the big technical people in the field of forensics, either on the social media or Twitter handles. And this is number 3 in how we can consult outside experts. So many digital forensic experts that are available to help us supplement one's knowledge. When you're preparing for digital investigation, you need to find out, do I want to use a public sector to investigate, like government, to investigate for me a case? Or do I want to go to a private entity, make my payments, they give me what it takes, then they come and carry out an investigation? These are big decisions every organization will have to handle, and you have to provide guidance. Government has capacity, machinery to handle a lot of investigation. However, it may take processes or a procedure for you to get them to come to your company. They may have a lot of backlog. They may not be, they may tell you, okay, this is 2022. Okay, you're next in the queue, 2023, February. By that time, you may have even lost interest in such a case. So you have to decide, is it public, is it government? Government comes in specifically to help big private organizations and companies. I'll give you an example. In 2020, there was a big forensic theft of money, a big cyber crime in Stanbic, and billions were stolen out of that organization. Of course, facilitated by the internal people. They didn't have capacity. However, because the sums of money were very huge, they sought guidance and help from NITA, which is the government agency, and the Ministry of ICT, who came in and carried out thorough investigation. And so they provide capacity to help big organizations to handle these kind of crimes. However, if they'd have wanted, they'd have also gone to any private sector, pay, and they get an investigation to see that the truth finally gets out. So when conducting any public sector investigation, we must understand the laws of computer-related crimes. In our computer-related crimes, these are some of the key core standards there. We have legal processes. We have guidelines on carrying out, how do we search and how do we seize equipment? Either hardware or software, it stipulates that. We also need to know how they build a criminal case. Because I told you, our aim of forensics is to get us to know the truth. Did you actually carry out the theft of this money, or are you caught free? Here, what guides us in a country is our Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which was published and accepted in 2011, as we had seen earlier. So following legal processes, it's very critical to note that criminal investigation, usually begins when someone finds evidence of a witness or a crime of a crime. A crime witness or a victim who has to make an allegation to police. What are we saying here? Imagine you wake up one morning and you find they've stolen your phone, stolen your laptops, stolen, I don't know, whatever gadgets in your house. It happened to us here at home on 30th of September. We woke up that night of 29th, 30th, woke up on 30th to do our work in the morning. Lo and behold, we found thieves had taken away all the gadgets we had in the house while we slept. We thanked God for life and we proceeded on. However, since we're the victims in that case, we had to first go and report to police. And that's why we said, any case that happens, you follow the chain of custody. There is a procedure you must follow. One, go and report this allegation. That is this step we're saying. Go and make an allegation to police. They open up for your police case. Then police will interview the complainant. They tell you, write a report. What was stolen? Do you have evidence? Do you have the receipts? Do you have this? They ask for a lot of information. You give in as much as you can. That's why I encourage you, please, whenever you buy any gadget, scan or take snapshots of the receipts. Keep them on your email. You never know when it will help you. But if you say, oh, let me just keep the receipt, it's okay, and you misplace it, or it's stolen, that is it. You have no evidence that this was the cost of the equipment. And why you complained, well, they're going to get you back your equipment. But in case you're interested in doing a forensic investigation, then that is a good starting point for forensics. Police will interview this complaint. You write a report. The report is processed and management decides as to when they're going to start the investigation. Usually, like here in Uganda, what they do, they will send you, they'll ask you, do you want us to get you some dogs to come and do the sniffing? They give you a cost. Do you also want to come and do forensic investigation, to pick your fingerprints, pick DNA, because the thieves left some DNA there? For whatever you opt for, you must pay. And there's a particular office, they call it the SOCO. SOCO or SOHO. That is the team that comes, that is the team that comes with that dog that sniffs, looking for the direction in which these thieves went. Once you've written this, now they open up a case for you and they save it in a police blotter or in a police file, just for historical purposes. So in case a next crime happens, they're always measuring and seeing how similar is it to another crime in another particular place. In understanding the private sector involves itself with mainly company and lawyers who address the company policy violations and litigations. What are they saying here? For example, if someone was wrongfully terminated, they chased someone away and said, you've been fired, deleted from the payroll. You can do a forensic investigation now. Get a private company to handle for you that kind of case. Why did they terminate the person? Is it because maybe they had used a computer to falsify? Look at some of these crimes here. Let's look at some of these crimes just mentioned here. They're here. Did you carry out some harassment, falsification of data, gender and age discrimination, embezzlement of funds, sabotage on some programs, or destruction of a system, or industrial espionage. Industrial espionage is the same as trespass. When someone is not given authorization to have access to a server, yet you have a username and a password. How did you pick them? You are able to trespass into that organization's virtual premises. So these are some of the basic kind of little crimes that the private sector can be able to handle. People were watching pornography, not following the company's rules. Those are small cases that the organizations or private sector foundation, private sector funded investigators are able to do some of this. Is it distributed denial of services? Any kind of form of cyber crimes. We're not limiting ourselves. And that's where we said, you either choose government to come at a fee, or go to private sector and they also charge you at a fee. There is always a cost involved in this investigation process. Businesses usually tend to reduce the risk of litigation by publishing the laws. You know, laws, the do's and don'ts, they try their best to publish as many as they can. Do not do this. Please do not watch this. Do not use our emails to send your own personal business. Do not share this. Do not send. They will give you as many do's and don'ts. So it's the prerogative of the IT department to carry out what they term as acceptability or the acceptable use policy. In your organization X you're working in, organization Y, tell us what are its do's, what are its don'ts. Do not drink near computers. Do not pour liquids in computers. You've seen some of these basic rules. So if we get you that you've broken them, they can take you on and give you a reason to either be suspended or maybe even terminated. Usually the first time is a warning. Depending on how grave the problem is, the second time is a warning, third time they fire. So if you take it as something that you keep doing every other time, you will find a very big challenge with what they are opting for. Lines of authority, we said them. You need to follow the rightful procedure. Who do I go to next? Then next word in presenting your evidence. Otherwise, the courts of law will not follow through. The moment you don't follow your line of authority or the custody of authority. Here is an example of a warning banner where we're telling you, give people in all forms do's and don'ts. I'll give you an example. When you check an institution's email, at the bottom, you'll always find disclaimers. This email is not supposed to be used for this. Why? Because if the law catches up with you, that someone used the email address of your organization to go and carry out theft in a bank, to handle discussion about killing of someone, your organization can also be taken to court. So you exonerate yourself and say, no, you're the person who does it, will be held responsible. And they always tell you, sign these laws, sign the policies. So put many warning banners on social media and keep orienting people. Keep training them on what is accepted. So all these are very key and important. One important place to hang them are in the bathrooms or the toilets. When people are doing their business, they should be able to read them because they may not have time when they're on their tables. But when you're locked in that sacred place, focusing, you can read some of these laws. Maintaining professional conduct, we've seen it's very key. Your ethics, your morals, your professional standards of behavior make who you are. An investigator must exhibit the highest level of professional behavior at all times. You should be objective. Do not steal people's information. Go and use it against them. Highest level of confidentiality, credibility. You know, all of these are very important in creating for yourself a good image. I know you've done much more under ethics. The ethics of using hardware and software. I'll give you an example of an unethical story. One time in a particular year, about 5 years ago, in MTN, there was an IT officer. So the CEO, who was a Ugandan by that time, came and he presented his laptop to the IT office, said, my laptop has crashed. I need some IT help. Please retrieve it and make it work and return it. So these people worked on it, repaired whatever the issues were. However, they found that in his photos, he had saved some nudes of himself and some staff members. I'm telling you, it was trouble. The IT boy said, okay, Mr. CEO, you must pay us 100 million. Otherwise, we're taking these photos to Red Pepper. He didn't have the money. He said, but you people, you're joking. You're just doing your work. So why did you have to go to? Why are you unethical? Why are you unprofessional in crossing your boundaries? So unfortunately, he failed to bring the money. And I'm telling you, about 2-3 weeks time thereafter, Red Pepper was all over with his photos. And it was a big shame. Actually, MTN fired him. So those are part of the things we are saying in carrying yourself well. Do not, and that's why I tell people, there are some photos you do not need to take. And why do you need to back them up? Otherwise, you may take your phone to a particular person and they use all your information against you. Being a professional is very important. Here we are looking at our chain of custody, which I've already seen earlier. That a chain of custody, because we will tell you to explain a chain of custody. It is the root of evidence, the route that the evidence takes from the time you find it until the case is closed or goes to court. Chain of custody is very important. An overview of company policy violations. There are several misuses that companies can have. For example, misuse of surfing of internet. You're supposed to use it to do your work of the organization. You're using it to upload your videos on social media, using it to be a media tuber, a YouTuber, watching your games, watching pornography. All those are crimes. And the moment they get a forensic investigator, I'm telling you, they can take you on and you pay. Sending personal emails using your official email and vice versa. You remember the story that Hillary Clinton had, where she had her own private server and she was able to keep having her communications and saving information privately, which was against the law of the land as White House. Why do you keep your information in that place? When it is public information, it shouldn't. And I'm telling you, it's one of the key things that led Hillary Clinton to losing. Trump used that and emphasized it until people believed him and she went off the radar. So any person can create for you a case, and I'm telling you, with evidence from digital forensic people and investigators, you may not be able to get away with it easily. So avoid using company organization equipment for your own personal tasks. Avoid. You can use your own computer for company tasks if they don't have, but the reverse is not true. Next, we want to look at why digital investigation. We have 6 key reasons. We'll go through them a little quick. Number 1, we want to understand how the intruder entered the system. And that's why we said intrusion detection is part of the security forensic process. Number 2, we want to know from where the location did this attacker come from. Is it Singapore, Uganda, Rwanda? Is it USA? Is it Canada? We'll see in some slides in other chapters, in chapter 2. We will see that there are some, chapter 2 to chapter 3, there are particular crimes that are well known in different countries. Cyber crimes, the highest criminals come from USA. Others from China, from Hong Kong, from the rest of the world, but the biggest is USA. Okay. Number 3, we want to discover what networks did they use, what media, and even why did they actually choose this particular organization? Why did they choose our particular home when thieves came? Unfortunately for us where we're staying, the thieves came not only to our house, they came to the landlord's son's house, went to another Sudanese house and our house, collected big screens of 75-inch from other people's houses. It's on our house where they picked gadgets from. So you want to find out the truth and ask these people some of these stories. Why were you punishing these victims? What networks did you use? Who gave you this information? That these people have these gadgets, they are kept here, they do this and this. Number 4, you want to gather information about this evidence and the intrusion as much as possible. And the focus is to identify a leak within an organization. And where possible, if you want to reduce on the list of suspects, you want to exonerate some of, especially the internal employees. Many times when a theft takes place, you always say, it's the internal people. No, who gave out their password? It is these people. So your forensic investigation will help the employees to say that, finally, it is not us, it was someone else, and they charge the person who is outside. But if it is inside as well, you also charge them. Why did they share their work? Sorry, this is number 5. Okay. So we are saying that number 5, we need to document the damage. How far damage did the organization or did the thieves carry? That's why when you go to make the statement, they will ask you, sorry about the loss of your phone, sorry about this and the other. How much? They want to quantify in terms of money to document the damage and the amount. Because every year, as a country, as police, they are mandated to come up with an annual report that gives them the numbers of people that actually are affected by cyber crimes. Even theft is one of the crimes under those computer crimes. and they quantify how much loss individuals have made. So assessing the possible damages is key. And of course, we've said other attackers still on the network. In security, you've looked at two types of attackers. You have passive attackers and you have active. A passive attacker is one that snoops, just logs on to view and track the trend of working. Thereafter, they will now carry out an attack and maybe delete information, edit information, whatever they want. In the sixth item, our focus is to see, can we reconstruct this crime scene if they're still online? And we shall see how can we be able to track what is happening on a particular website. So reasons for digital forensics are summarized here in this diagram. In the middle, we have our hacker. And of course, the forensic investigators are to see these key core 6 things. How did the incidents occur? Where did it occur or come from? What network or system files were affected? Identifying any leakage within the organization. Assessing the possible damage that occurred during a particular breach and amounts. And number 6, are the hackers still on the network? Reconstruct the crime and finally submit your report. So these are the 6 key core reasons as to why we carry out digital forensics. Next, we want to look at the LOCAD's law of exchange. You know, we follow policies, we follow principles, we follow frameworks. LOCAD, Sherrod LOCAD, Edmond LOCAD came up with this law, and it has worked a lot that whenever 2 objects come in contact with each other, there is a cross transfer of physical evidence. Yes, when 2 vehicles collide each other, one crashes and slashes onto the other and collects some paint. Yes, the paint is there to give us some evidence that it is this vehicle that collected, and why everything that you see, every physical device has DNA. Be it tires of a vehicle, be it your shoes, our fingers, any liquids. If a rape case takes place, they will need to take this person or a child to the hospital to check and find out if there is some fluid someone left there, the perpetrator. Saliva has our DNA. Basically, wherever you sit, you leave your DNA. So LOCAD says, whenever 2 objects come in touch with each other, whether it is you who touches and steals and picks something from a table, yes, you actually have collected and you leave evidence there. That's why you see it's because of LOCAD's principle that digital forensics stands. The next slide will still emphasize what LOCAD still mentioned. He further emphasizes what he quotes, that every contact leaves a trace. That is true. For as long as you touch somewhere, you leave a trace. Your cloth is always removing off some little small tiny microparticles. We can't see them. So everywhere we pass and move, we are leaving a trace of where we are. Our hair has a lot of DNA. Our nails, so much DNA. Everything about us has our DNA. So the value of trace or contact forensic evidence was first recognized by Edmond LOCAD in the 1910. He was the director of the very first crimes laboratory in existence. That was in Lyon, in France. So the LOCAD's exchange principle states that With contact between two items, there will be an exchange, as we're all saying, really. Whether it's a burglar, those are thieves. They leave a trace. The only challenge is that their DNA may not be very clear. And if you don't have a comprehensive database where you're going to check these different DNA items from, you may leave hair from your body or from your hair, from your head. Fibers from your clothes are always left behind. Carpet fibers, you're able to know if this is a plastic, if this is a woolen, you're able to know the category of fiber. That you actually carry out. So Locard's principle of exchange gives us the basis for tracing any forensic traces. Next, we want to look at, we are just midway of our slides. We will be able to finish by 4:30. Remember, we began 30 minutes late. So I'll kindly beg us to be a little patient, and next time we will do better as we keep time. The next slides want to show us what are the framework, what are the steps involved. Remember, I began by telling you, just like system analysis and design that had steps, digital forensic investigation also has steps. Where do you start from? What is step number 2? Next, where do you go to? Next, up to the end. So in digital forensics, it's a step-by-step process of conducting a computer incident investigation in a suspected computer intrusion. That is the focus. That step-by-step process of getting this evidence from a particular incident, as long as it involves any digital, that is what you want to follow. Next, we see here the steps. We have, this shows us 7 key steps. This is just like the general methodology. However, different authors, as I told you, your assignment has different authors. I've told you, go look for at least 10 methodologies, digital forensic investigation methodologies or frameworks, giving us different steps. So the first 3 steps take place at the crime scene. Either there was a killing. So what's the first thing we do? Number 1, identify any hardware or software device that was at the place of where the crime happened. Is it a phone? Is it a laptop? Is it a tablet? What is it? A projector? As long as it has any storage device, a camera, identification is the first thing. Once you identify, we shall see you go putting tags. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, etc. Number 2, we now go ahead and we seize those items. Go and pick them after you've now drawn, taken photographs. In seizing them, you want to go and pick authorization. Pick them from the place. However, we'll see in step number 4 that it's not important for you to just pick and go. It's better you make your copy from that place in what we term as a mirror or an image, then allow the forensic investigation process to go ahead and allow the people to continue with their day-to-day work. That is what happens in the seizure. Go capture them in accordance with that law of the 4th Amendment. Number 3, we seek permission from police. We ensure that we have all the legal Documentation authorizes us to tell us that what we are doing is the right thing. Next, after we have our procedures accepted, our letters from court are there. Every gadget we need that is going to test is now there. We then go to the acquisition step. In acquisition step, we make an image, as I had said. We make a copy of that hard drive or that storage device that you're interested in carrying out an investigation of. That's what happens in our acquisition. And of course, we shall see how it happens. And we shall also do an acquisition on our own, because we must be able to do each one of these steps. The hardest part is now analysis. After you've made a copy, now start searching. It's like mining. That's why others call it data mining. You start searching for the gold that you want. Is it an email that was saying we need to go and kill this person? We need to go and we are going to, you need to search for something that the suspect has given you. That is the analysis. And of course, there are tools that help us in doing this analysis. But it is very human for me and you to carry out this analysis, because unless we go and we search for particular items, it will be very hard for us to get a proper way of handling this investigation. Next is presentation. Having analyzed, now we have our evidence. We present it, write it in a proper format. We organize and present it to the courts of law. By the way, take note of acquisition and analysis take place in the forensic labs. And these forensic labs, these are high-tech equipment that are quite very expensive, that the organization must have, the company must have to take on this forensic investigation. The final step is preservation. Having got this evidence, you don't throw it away anywhere. No, save it for another day. Save it in a very secure place and save several copies. The other day, we're listening to one of the components, one of the items happening, I think in Kosase. It has been going around of one of the owner of Mistil was being asked, where is your land title? How did you actually acquire a place of all these acres from Uganda Railway without even paying any money? And so she said, you see, all the evidence was burnt when fire burnt downtown. That's why for every document, preservation is very key. Keeping copies are very important. You can't say, oh, fire came and burnt our office, so no. You're an IT person, you're supposed to think better. Because depending on how, if you're investigating, for example, a terrorist case, they can come even have capacity to blow up buildings. So save them on the cloud for the investigation to ever wake up and handle it. We will quickly go through those steps and what happens. And I tell you, this is something we are going to follow through step by step, terminology with terminology, process by process, in explaining how do we carry out digital forensic investigation. So these are steps we use for solving a problem of digital forensics. We make an initial assessment about the type of case. Is it a rape case, a theft case, a cyber virus case, denial of service? Is it an email of cyber stalking? Assess the type of case you're investigating. Determine the preliminary design and approach of the methods. Which one best suits? You will see when you're doing that assignment, there are some that they will tell you this one is best suited for mobile phone applications. This one is what is accepted for computers. This one is what's accepted for electronic, emails. So there are some that are very specialized for different components. Create a checklist, a whole list of what you will need. Determine the resources you need. Remember, you're working as part of the people in the team. You may be led by the police, but for you, because there is something that is hardware, software involved, you're put as the team, part of the team. Networks involved, you're there. Because you're the right person who understands these terminologies. So you have that checklist. Determine the resources. What gadgets do you need? Obtain a copy of the evidence. In obtaining the copy of this evidence drive is what we mean that takes place at the acquisition. All the others, the first one, initiation, takes place at the initial step of investigation. And we've said that the first step is identification. And of course, having this checklist, make sure you follow the next step. So by the time you come to making a copy of evidence, then you are good to go. Next, we identify the risks. What if this? What if the other? What if this? Those are the risks. What if we lose information? What if? That's why you make more than one copy. Mitigate or try to minimize these risks. Risks of loss of data. Risks that you are worried of and not following procedures. Minimize these risks. We need to test our design to see if it's really the best we have to make use of our digital evidence. Investigate data that you recover. Any data that you recover is very important for the investigation process. Complete the case report. You're compiling the report, presenting it. Critique the case. In critiquing the case, we shall see that there are some core things you're supposed to do. Ask yourself, what would we have done better? Ask yourself some key questions. What if we used another tool? And that's why they say, ask yourself the 5 W's and the 1 H. Who, what, where, when, why, and the H is the how. Sometimes they just call it the 6 W's, but that is how we critique a case, and we shall see it in our third last slide. Assessing the case, here we're just trying to explain the processes a little in detail. In writing a systematic outline of a case, we need to have the situation, the nature of the case. We need to have specifics about that case. We need to know the type of evidence we are dealing with. We need to know the disk format. In what disk format type are we having? Is it FAT? Is it NFTS? We shall see those in our next 2 chapters. Where is the location of this evidence? On a flash drive, in the browser, we shall see we have tools we'll install to pick out all information from a browser history. Any browser that has ever been installed on that computer, you run those tools there, I'm telling you, every website, every password from the websites are all retrieved, where they're never saved. You'll be shocked, they are always retrieved, and we'll look at those tools. Very short, simple tools, because we want to see and determine details about this evidence. We want to then use this to help us determine our case requirements and write it down. So it's on the basis of that investigation plan that you include the following activities. How are you acquiring the evidence? And remember, I told you when you're going to court, you need to have someone who is in charge of writing, a secretary, documenting every step. Document. Print screen, explain. What did you do here? What did you get? Otherwise, the court of the law will throw you out. So that's why we are saying it's very important for your case to be presented and written out very well. That one we termed it as the process of admissibility of a case. We need to see how to transport this evidence to the forensic lab. Usually we keep it and save it. If it's a hard drive, it must be packaged very well and taken using a well-cushioned or well-padded bag. We shall see them, evidence containers. Secure this evidence in an approved, very approved, accepted, secured container. We'll see an example. Of course, your workstation should have all software you're going to use for forensics. Retrieve the evidence from that secure container, do the acquisition, making a copy, return the evidence to a secure container and keep it in a safe. We make different copies, as I told you. In case someone deletes, I'll give you a little short story. There is one gentleman who was telling me, one student, that, are you seeing this last African Cup of Union? African Union Cup, football. One of his friends had predicted that Senegal was going to win. And exactly penalties, he just said 4-2. Senegal having 4. And exactly that's what happened. Of course, there are people who may have even said that. Do you know what he did? He went with his actual bet. He had done a betting. He went to the betting company and said, here are the results that I wrote. Here is my receipt. This is what I had entered in your system. The moment they saw it, they grabbed the evidence, that little receipt. They chewed it and swallowed it. I'm telling you, there was no evidence he had. Up to now, he's confused. How should I open up a case for these people? He has, and it was just given as a hard copy. He has no second copy. The person grabbed it and it disappeared. The it said, sorry, you have no case again, no money for you, go. Whenever you go to such places, please provide a copy. I'm just trying to emphasize the need of making copies. Even in the forensic investigation, we make copies of the details of what we have. We had seen this evidence custody form, not yet. Every evidence that you collect, it must be well documented. That is what we call an evidence custody form. It helps us to document what has been done, what has been picked. Basically, the specifications of that particular hard disk or any storage device that you have captured. It's also called a chain of evidence forms. We have 2 types of forms, just, like a receipt. A receipt, you can choose to write one item. That one is called a single evidence form. Or you can have one receipt that writes and documents multiple evidence picked on a particular case. That one, we term it as a multiple evidence form. This is how it looks like. This is an example of the multiple evidence file. Let me just come shortly and annotate for you. Look at these items. They run all the way from 1 all the way to number 10. So you can indicate all the 10 devices that were stolen, or even if they were less, but you are not writing one item only. You're describing the vendor name, the model serial number, and you go on and on. This is called our multiple evidence form. Next, we see a single evidence form. In this single evidence form, you will see it's only for writing one item. There are no numbers here. Number 1 only. Hard drive, vendor, Dell, something, something, specifications, this, that is it. This one is very, very longer process in creating evidence forms. The single form, multiple form, all of them are there. Securing your evidence, that one we mentioned. You use our evidence bags. We make use of the evidence bags to secure our catalogs. Why? Or what types of bags? We can ask you. Yes, anti-static bags or anti-static pads. In terms of this little bag, we shall see an illustration of it. These bags that we are looking at actually have anti-static in terms of you can't lose the hard disk's data that is in. Any kind of, because it's a magnetic tool, and we shall see how is the make of any storage device. They are made in magnetic forms. So the moment a magnet gets closer to it, or a phone, it loses its static components, therefore destroying all the information that is there. So you want a form that is anti-static. You want a bag that is anti-static to keep our evidence there. Okay. Whether it is a CD-ROM drive bay, insertion of slots of power supplies, just to make sure that everything is saved off securely. Next, we expect to see at least an illustration of how we can save it. Look at the way this plastic bag is well cushioned to store our hard drive. So this is one of the ways in which you can store our hard drive. And of course, the temperature is important. If it is very hot or very cold, it can be able to lose its staticness. So that's why it's very, very important for it to be under good and cool temperatures. Some of the procedures as we get to wind up, because the next part is going to be showing us like 20 slides of only screenshots, which we won't waste time over, because we've said we will run them using different tools. And we will request you to use them. One is that you need to make sure the right procedures are used and techniques. The next thing is the attorney. Remember, we talked about the need of this attorney. The attorney's client privilege. These are rules that you pick from the attorney. It's like an MOU you write and say, I'm going to comply by this when an investigation is taking place. You must keep all findings confidential. Do not start getting drunk and the person starts saying, oh, by the way, do you know that particular case? You can't believe it. Oh, Congo lost, or Uganda lost the case. Now we are going to pay. Yet imagine you're part of the people who are carrying out this investigation. Do not give us that inner information. It will be a very big loss to the organization. You need to persuade and educate many attorneys on how digital evidence can be viewed electronically. You can also encounter problems if you need data in form, if you need data in form of a binary file, zeros and ones, or even hexadecimal files. You will see that the formats are very, very different and unique. So it's very, very important for us to get these privileges and honor from the courts of law. And by the way we present them must be in clear English. That's why you're there, the technical person. So here, they're giving some key core steps here, request for this memorandum from the attorney, the SCP, that shows what we should do, the steps to follow, what are the keywords. Sometimes if you don't want to be limited by keywords when you're searching, keep it open-minded. But again, if it's open-minded, I told you, it will actually infringe on the rights of the person you're picking data from. That's why they always ask you, at least give us some key core words, keywords you're going to search for. It's just like when you're doing an ordinary search. There's some basic information that you just type in a search engine. So what's the courts of law will tell you, okay, give them to us. I want to look for harassment. You mentioned some keywords in that email you're looking for. Initiate the investigation, then analyze, do the drive examination, and make these bit images. Of course, they're giving us an example here that if you're using computer-aided diagrams, when you're carrying out your binary files, you need to have some of these files there as well. When you're searching, you search in two places. You either search in the located space, that is the used space, and the even hidden folders. That hidden space is where you're very much interested in picking this information. So don't only just run the keywords, you search in all places, allocated space, unallocated space. Of course, we say data recovery is one of them, so that when you're searching across the board. Other guidelines is that you need to have written communication with the attorney. That one we've seen. Documentation is key. Communication for these confidential work products. Assist the attorney and the paralegals in analyzing data, because it's you, the technical person, who understands it. For them, they will write the case in their format. Now, of course, we said, you know, when you go to the IT department of an organization X that you're investigating, you need to conduct some interviews. An interview is where you're seeking information. You're just asking some basic questions, basic information from the people. That is very, very key. So this basic information, you're just asking questions. Who does this? How is your network located? When did you last find out that a virus, or when did you last update your antivirus? When did you find out that, okay, you're suspecting someone of doing this and the other? That is an interview, friendly environment. When they finally find that, we suspect this is the person with some bit of evidence, now they will take you to Nalufenya, or they will take you to where they took Kakwenza to get thorough information from you. Serious Chiboko, hammering you with some bottles. Why? They now know that this is a suspect. They're getting you to confess. That's why they usually call that interrogation. Of course, the way we interrogate is quite very harsh, but sometimes it goes to that extent that they need to try and get people to confess to see if they know what is happening. The role of the investigator is to instruct that whole investigation process and ask those questions. How, why, who? Remember, we said there are some key core successes you need as an interviewer. 1, patience is a virtue. Being patient throughout the session, ask. 2, repeat the questions as much as possible in that interview. Rephrase them, paraphrase them, change them. We call that rephrasing questions to 0. You're paraphrasing them in all kinds of ways and formats, in all forms of languages. Is it Runyachitara? Is it Karamajong? Is it Alur? Is it Luganda? Is it, I don't know, name it. You want to rephrase, and that's why whenever they're writing down a particular case, or if you've ever gone to any police station, one of the first questions they ask you, if you're getting a form to retrieve your SIM card, one of the questions they ask you is, what is your tribe? So in case you ever go to court, they'll look for someone, your tribe's mate, to come and actually carry out that fact finding. It's very important, very, very important to see what exactly one has when you're managing such an issue. Being tenacious is never giving up, the spirit of never giving up. Do not say, oh, the situation is very hard, I don't know what to do, let me give up. No. If you've ever watched movies on forensics, you will see they keep the evidence for years. Tools will emerge. There are some cases which are now getting answers now after 20 years of some murder because of some evidence they kept. Now that tools have been formed, it is easier to get that information. That's why they never ever throw away what? The evidence. They never. Evidence is always kept. Forensic workstations have specialized computers, high-tech computers that have a lot of this information. The important item here that we equally have is a right blocker, and we shall keep seeing it. And I'll even take you through what a right blocker is. It's here. And we always ask, what is a right blocker? What are right blockers? These are both they're in hardware and software. Just like intrusion detection systems, hardware plus software. Right blockers, this is what their focus is on. Their focus is to enable one to boot Windows without writing data to the evidence drive. What does it do? One, it works only for Windows, not Linux, not Mac, no. We carry out this boot of right blocker device, attach it to the hard drive disk to freeze your information, that please stay put as is. No one should add, no one should remove any information from this disk until I've made my image. That is why we run it in a right blocker. In case there is information that is over the internet still being transmitted, it blocks and stops it. It freezes, that is the aim of, just to make sure that the writing process on this evidence drive is actually not there at all. It blocks it, you can't write to it. It changes it to like a read-only memory so that no one can save, no one can write, no one can edit. That is the focus of a right blocker. It is either hardware or software. Okay, that was our right blocker. In understanding our data recovery workstation still, we say data recovery is part of the process. And I told you, ever since, like imagine if you ever had a flash drive you've ever attached to that computer, all the information that that flash drive ever carried will leave a copy there for forensic evidence. So nothing is deleted off any station. These are some of the things you will need in a bag. We will look at even many more. You will need a workstation either with XP or with Linux or whatever software you want to use. You will need a right blocker device. We've said is to freeze our hardware device or our storage device, that no one writes on it. No one saves any new data on it or changes. We need data forensic acquisition tools. We will see them, like, for example, the forensic FTK, the OS forensics, any that can help us, the FTK imager. All we shall, by the way, do it. It is one of the first items we shall do to next week in our next class. And I will encourage you, if you can attend even both sessions, the better for you. For more practicals, when our 5 weeks end, we shall go through all of them quickly. But for now, even try and do them on your own. I will take you through the tutorials. We will go through the clips together, step by step. We do it. It may take a little longer time, but it's very beneficial for you to do the actual forensic investigation. So we shall do the acquisition, have the acquisition tools, have the analysis tools. You need to have, of course, a drive on which you're going to save the source or the suspect's disk data. You need to have some spare cables or ports on your computer. Have you seen like USB ports, PATA, SATA? Those are ports for hard drives. Hard drives which have 40 pins or 20 pins. Those are PATAs and SATAs. We shall look at them in our third chapter. Set up your workstation with these different items again. At least a network interface card to help us, especially if there is anything concerning the internet. How did you get it there? Any extra USB ports, because you will need those ports. Fire wires, these are also unique ports to attach any other storage devices. The SCI cards are still for a type of storage device. The hard drive, disk editor tools, text editor tools. So your forensic workstation is self-contained. It has all these programs and any other graphical viewing programs, because graphics make it very easy, because you'll be taking photographs, you'll be taking photographs, you'll be taking all sorts of evidence that you would need. Okay. Other specialized viewing tools will also be needed. For example, if you're using a CAD CAD as a tool, yes, you will need it as well. When conducting a forensics, of course, we are going through again the same processes. The original storage media is needed. Evidence custody forms, we've seen them. How do you fill them? Single forms or multiple forms? You will need to have those containers to save our storage media. Anti-static pads or anti-static bags, which are well padded. Anti-static because you don't want it to take out the magnetic component, because a hard drive is made out of magnetic little cycles and sectors, which can always go bad once you expose them to too much heat, and any magnetic rays like phones and any magnets can destroy it. Bitstream imaging tools, these are for the acquisition process. And of course, your workstation to help us make these copies and examine your evidence, that's analysis. Securely keep off your evidence in lockers, in cabinets, or even a safe. That is how we conduct our forensic. These steps we will not ask you because we have a life cycle which is very systematic. However, these are just some quick tips. Avoid damaging the evidence. That's why we want you to keep it far. Don't be careless with it. Oh, I left it here, someone deleted it. Meet the IT manager to interview him. Fill out the evidence form. Have the IT manager sign that particular form. Place the evidence in a secure container. The same things. And of course, keep it off safely. Next, about the copies that we are going to make in the acquisition process. We call them bitstream copies because they're in zeros and ones. That is the format that is saved on hard drive storage devices. bit-by-bit copy of original storage media, exact copies of original disks, different from simple backup copies. You're basically making a known, and the way it appears in a different file extension. Others appear as .raw. We shall see different formats in which we can save this information in the acquisition process. We shall even be able to do it at least on our flash drives, and we see. Bitstream images. Here the file contains the bitstream copy of all the data. It's basically like making a photocopy of your academic documents. They have what are known as images and image files. This is an illustration. The first original disk is the first one. Look at the photocopies that it makes. Make another copy of it, another copy of it, because one copy is not enough. That other one copy that you make can get damaged anytime. So you need to have different versions of this data that is saved there. In acquiring the image, we have some basic rules. Preserving this original evidence is key. That one we've seen is in the last step, keeping it far because it can always be destroyed. And you have no case if you paid for it. That is very dangerous. You may need to go back there, pick a copy. Even if they delete, the worst they can do is to destroy the hard drive. For as long as the hard drive is still functioning, you can retrieve all information. You analyze your work based on the copy of the files that you pick, so that you're not deleting information or overwriting them. Of course, we say that a Windows tool requires a write blocking device when acquiring FAT or NFST. Why? To freeze it so that no information is overwritten. No data is, you don't lose data which is in motion. That is why we use our write block as we had seen. So of course, here the next slides are taking us through the steps. When you go to it, you click File, you'll see Create Image. This is the kind of line. Now here they are using an example. I told you they're using in this book, they're using ProDiscover Basics to acquire USB drive. They are using ProDiscover as a tool. But ProDiscover, I've told you, is a paid tool. So for us, we shall use an open source tool. And by the way, we're not limited. There are so many other tools you can use. So you click File. Next, you go to Capture Image or Create an Image. An image, we know what it is. It is a copy. Where is the location of the source drive? Is it a flash drive? Is it an external hard disk? And where do you want to save it? Which destination? Do you want to split it in terms of breaking it? Have you seen people who want to store information or water from a jerry can into small bottles? You're splitting it into smaller bits and pieces. So if you want to split it, you click Split and you follow instructions. The others are very clear. After you've put in like the technicians' names, you will be able to say that it's you who's working on it. Then now you can give it an image number, any documentation that you would want just to describe your info, your data of the image you're creating. Compress it. Do you want to, you know what compressing is? Do you want to zip, WinZip it, or do you want to WinRAR it? Do you want to reduce on its size? By the way, we shall see in the types of images, it's not every image which is compressible. No, there are some which cannot be compressed at all. So the type of storage device is equally important. You keep following through, next, okay, until you finally finish. So these parts, I'll just take you through the little bits of them here. And you look at the way they filled in the technical name, Joe Friday, the image number. Usually using the current date would be good because a date can never be repeated. Time even can never be repeated. So look for an image number and name that is consistent. Your job is to recover data from any deleted files, any file fragments. You know the ones we said allocated files, unallocated. Those are hidden documents. Okay. So we said, of course, any deleted files never go. Forensic tools always pick them up. Any file never disappears. Even a Word document, all versions, whether you deleted it, you overwrote it, it will give us all the versions it had ever had. That is how interesting and dangerous these forensic tools can be. Of course, when you're after correcting your image, you now see where to save it in a proper place. These are the steps they're just following because they are using that particular tool. Our steps will be equally different. This is our FTK Imager. In this FTK Imager, here you're just basically viewing. It's more or less like a Windows Explorer tool. You'll be able to see what file are you picking, where did you save it? You click it, you will view it in detail here, double click it, it opens. So these are what will just help us in viewing the items of our imager. Thereafter, we said analysis. Analysis is the tough part. It's for you to search. Do you have some keywords? Are you going to go file by file from all this content that you have? We are winding up, please don't leave the class. Are you going to search for those keywords? Display all its results. You type in, like if you're looking for a report, maybe about a vaccine, you type in vaccine. So anything concerning vaccine will appear. You may find 1 million or 1,000 of the files come up. You need to go opening each one by one until you get the exact one that you need. That's why I said the analysis process is very painful. And that's why they say that part of the professional conduct, you must be very tenacious. You never give up. Today you search for 100, you go back. Tomorrow you come back, continue another 50, the next day 30, next day 100. You never give up. It's always an ongoing process. You're searching for the truth. After you've picked all this data from your search engine, export the data you need to a folder of your choice and label it. Be very specific for that file name. Generate a report of your activities because we say documentation is very key. This is how you click search. You just go to file and click search. Then you start typing in your keywords. This is how it would appear. Look at this kind of binary data. Binary data, you'll need to run it through a binary system to convert it to your actual ABCD language or hexadecimal. And most of the data you'll be saying, hey, madam, the output looks very strange. Yes, the output has to be strange because it's either information in motion, it's either something that was saved partially or it was deleted halfway. But these are all converted, are convertible back into human language that we can read our normal ABCD. And of course, those are more reports. Of course, we said when you're completing this case, do you remember repeatability of the findings? Take down these steps because in court, you're going to do exactly what you did. And also they will have another volunteer, a third party, a fourth person with a laptop or with a computer. They tell you, install for them, let them run this thing themselves. And they see if they get the same results. If they get the same results, then they confirm that, yes, they had a case. The report should show conclusive evidence that the suspect did or did not commit a crime because of the evidence that you provide in violating a company's policy. And of course, we said, you've been documenting, you've been writing this journal, or you've been writing anything in a notebook, because all these notes are needed in court. And of course, we said what guides you are those questions, the 6 W's or the 5 W's and 1 H. The who, the what, where, when, why, and the how. You must explain the computer and network processes as much as you can, because the people attorney on the other side are legal people. They don't understand your zeros and ones, don't understand your programming, don't understand how did you get to this. You have to be very systematic in your process. Finally, you critique the case. Ask yourself some questions together with the team. How could you improve on your performance of this case? Did you expect the results you found? If not, did the case actually develop in another way that you didn't expect? Was documentation as thorough as it would have been? What feedback has been received from the requesting sources? Did you discover any new problems? If so, what were they? These are questions that you're critiquing the case. Before you submit it, don't be in a hurry. No, you sit and ask yourself these questions such that you know these are some of the questions the courts are going to ask you, the attorneys or the magistrates in court. The earlier you get these answers, the better. And be as systematic and provide detail. Are there any new techniques or tools that can help us to use this during this research or to get further evidence? If they're there, they may tell you to seek for them. I've taken us through our tutorial downloads that you're going to have. Next week, we shall have at least reg shots to do a registry analysis. We'll also be able to look at Access Data FTK Imager. This is the one we shall use in creating our imager. We'll also download OS Forensics. OS Forensics is an open source tool, I told you. It's an application. And all it does, it also creates the image, helps with analysis. It takes us through that whole process. This registration analysis helps us to compare the logs of the different details and registries that we have of the information we are picking. And many others, as we shall see, systematically, one by one, because we want to talk and do. So please practice and practice. Thank you very much. So in summary, we've looked at our definition of forensics. We've seen how it's a step-by-step process of carrying out a digital forensic investigation. We saw the general methodology. However, we've said that there are other people who have also come up with more methodologies. And that's why we've said that your assignment is here actually for your own. Our deadline is when? Our deadline is the 18th. Our deadline is the 18th, that is next week on Friday, when we are going to critique I think 18th is 11th. No, it will be 19th of February. That is when we are going to critique. And so when you're going to submit this quick assignment in groups, it's not individual work. So in groups, not more than 5, so that you're able to do your group work and submit it. So class, thank you very much for being very patient. It's exactly 2 hours. We began at 20 to 3. It's coming to 20 to 5. We will meet again next week. May God bless you, and please ask where you have challenges. I know a number of you are still having problems. Of knowing what course you'd want to do. It's part of the process. You will get over it with time. So may God bless you and have a nice evening. But I'll still encourage you, please link up with your elders in the previous year who will be able to guide you on what are some of these procedures. Our recordings will be shared, and please practice and practice. From next week, please sit either in groups. We will have our theory session. I'll see how to cut down these slides. I'll still give you full slides, but on my side, we'll cover part of the slides. Then we focus on a practical and we go through a practical session as well. So may God bless you and have a good day as well. Bye-bye.